I'm super excited. So we got my good friend Scott Evans from Look Creative Studio. I'm excited because this is the first time that we've actually got a chance to actually not only speak, with voice, but actually to see each other here. Everything for the last 3-4 years has all been via email. So all the communication is there. So how are you doing, Scott?
I'm fine, thank you. Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, well,
good to be talking to you. Like I said, I don't really. I never talk to people on the phone, let alone do any kind of video chatting or interviews or anything like that. Generally, it's all email back and forth.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I'm super excited to have you, just because the impact that you've created on my business, and I know for so many other entertainers around the world, has just been amazing. I mean, from before I started working with you and to after I started working with you, I saw a very, very big change in the number of shows that I was booking, and it was because something that I got a chance to talk to you a few minutes before for this interview. But one of the things that you always say, and I've heard you say it a couple other times, is judging a book by its cover. And it really, I hate to say it, but I mean, this is the brand, right?
I was literally looking for a book on Amazon earlier, and I was looking at the book covers, and I saw one. I thought that looks rubbish, it's purely because the avatar cover, whatever, it looked like they spent about 10p making it. I thought, wow, it's obviously not a big production book or anything like that. So look at the next one.
Yeah, and so when we all judge and we got that that 8, I heard one day, I heard a couple of years ago, we had about 12-second attention span to grab someone's attention, and then in relation, it's funny, a fish is 9 seconds.
Yeah,
9-second attention span for a fish. Now they say that a human has 8 seconds, so we have less attention span than a freaking fish. So,
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Everything is just literally content driven, and there's so much of it. I was just saying this to my son the other day, when they're asking for a million different app games every day. When we was kids, you had one game a year. You got Sonic the Hedgehog at Christmas, and that was it. When nowadays, they go through the equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 or 4 times a day, and they don't appreciate it, so they just want something new and something cool looking, like 24/7.
Yeah. So Scott, then I want everybody who's watching and listening to this right now, just to get a little bit, a little bit behind the scenes about you. We've seen your work everywhere, different entertainers. That's the great thing about your Look, Look Creative, is we look and we see a design or a cartoon and we immediately know, hey, that was Scott Evans. So, tell us a little bit just outside of the designing stuff, because you're a family man. So tell us a little bit about where you live, where you're from, a little bit of what you do on the outside of the design process, just to get to know you a little bit better.
Right. Well, I'm from England. I live in a place. I live in the southwest of England. So it's what's the equivalent of?
I can't tell by the accent at all either.
Yeah. Well, no, because actually I'm not originally from Devon. I was born in the Midlands, which is like the Chicago of it's that kind of big industrial second city. I grew up there until I was about 18. Then when I was 18, I moved down to a seaside town.
You look like you're a pretty young guy. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 35 now.
Okay, so we're relatively same age, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 35 now. When I was 18, my dad bought a pub, a bar, down in this seaside town. And I was supposed to go to university. I was supposed to go to university to do media studies and all that. And my dad said to me, do you fancy, moving down to Torquay with us and running this pub? At 18, I would have been the youngest licensee in the country at the time. And 18 years old and being offered a chance of running your own bar, I said yes. I thought I could always go back to university.
What was the drinking age out there? Because Canada's 18 and 21 in the US, so what was the drinking age out there?
The drinking legal age is 18, but...
I like how you put the legal drinking age out there.
Legal drinking age was 18, but people over, you're drinking from about... I was going to nightclubs when I was about 15. So,
wow.
So, yeah, I know, like in America, you can't go drink until you're 21. But in, by the time I was 18, I was literally a licensed bar, like manager and whatnot. So yeah, bit of a difference. But anyway, yes, I moved down to. That's why I moved down here to do that.
Okay. And now, so you're 35 years old. You married. I know you've got some kids. I've heard you talk about your kids before and your vacations and whatnot. So, how many kids have you got?
I've got 2 kids. I've got an 11-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son.
Okay. And one of the things that I found extremely interesting, and many people probably don't know this, but you're not a magician.
No, I can't do any magic at all.
So you don't entertain the kids with magic. No. How do you entertain them? Are you doing cartoons for them all the time, or?
I do actually. My son especially, he's very much he's always coming in the office and looking at the cartoons I'm doing or the animations I'm doing. And just the other week I was teaching him how to do stop frame animation with all these Lego characters, and we're making a little cartoon like that. But my daughter's
I've tried that before. That's fun. I've tried that with my niece.
Yeah, I mean it's relatively easy to do as well. It's not even difficult, and he did a great little animation. But my daughter as well, she's very talented. My son definitely wants to go into game design or something like that. He's always saying it. My daughter's very creative, but I think she's of that generation that wants to. Years ago, everyone wanted to be a pop star or a movie star. Nowadays, everybody wants to be a YouTuber, and she's definitely of that age where she wants to be a famous YouTuber. So,
well, she got the dad to help her out with.
I made her a cartoon logo for it, a Bunny XOX channel.
Now, is her channel live? Because we can put that. We'll link that there if her channel's live or.
No, it's just literally her and her friends of posting up, them like singing karaoke songs and stuff like that.
So you're a family man, and you are the busy. I know. When I contact you, sometimes it can take. You're very gracious, and sometimes you can fit me in last minute. But many times it may take a month or maybe a little bit longer to get some of the designs. So you're full-time graphic designer. Where and I want to talk about the productivity at the end, just to kind of leave a little tip. But where do you get your inspiration for the designs? Because again, as I said, when I see a logo or a cartoon, we just know right away that it was Scott Evans from Look Creative. So where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, I've been drawing for so long. I've been, literally from being like as far back as I can remember, I've been drawing. Obviously, when I was a kid, the big inspiration was all the Disney films. I used to love watching all of them, like Peter Pan. I remember seeing that at the pictures because again back then you didn't have the internet and DVDs. Disney used to re-release films every like 7 years or something like that. So you had to go. The only place they did not even release the films onto VHS until the 90s. So the only place you could see it when I was a little kid was to go to the cinema. So I remember seeing Peter Pan. I remember seeing Pinocchio, and then they used to get down the car boot. People used to have like the pirate videos.
Okay.
And we used to get them, but they were so bad you could barely see the screen. It was all shaky and you couldn't hear the sound or anything. But yeah, all the old Disney films, I loved all of them. And so
you certainly got so your inspiration from there, but you've got that completely different style because it's not really Disney-esque. It's kind of just Scott-esque. Did you start something a little bit closer to that, and then it's eventually evolved? Just as magicians, we learn new things and we there and change.
That's it. You start with your inspiration, and then as you get better at something, you start putting your own stamp on it. And it's like you can recognize people's handwriting. Eventually, you have a certain flow and style, and it's just the way that you work. And so, I can't really say. It's just a style that I've developed for the last 20 odd years. But saying that, I can actually adapt to any style. If someone said, I really like this style of cartoon, like manga or anything like that, I could easily adapt to whatever they want.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, cool. I know because some of my friends and stuff, they love what you do, but their branding doesn't maybe match exactly with theirs. So it's interesting that you said that. So you can actually kind of match a different style as well. So that's
I've had people say to me, there's another magician in the town that's used your service. I don't want it to look exactly the same. Can you do something different? And I've said to them, have a look online, look at different styles that you like, come back to me. I can adapt to it. I can also do it in a different stylized way. So to make it look different color tones, maybe without lining. I can even work with photos. So, if someone just wanted their actual, picture of them, their promotional picture, and then I can build up the text logo around them and whatnot. There's always different ways you can try if you're worried that you're too similar to somebody else.
And I like that you brought that up. And I'm going to come back to that, because I know some of my some of the birthday members here, they get a little hesitant, and I've heard it before in different forums and stuff. Because you're the talk, but when someone wants a new logo, they all talk about you. And one of that hesitations is that they don't want them to look the same. But I did ask you that question before we started this, and you had a great answer. And I want to save that to the end, because what you said really set into my head. And I'm excited to share with that. So if you guys hang in there and that. So you've been doing it for how many years? Like 20 years, 12 years?
As a full-time profession, I started off part-time, must be about 12 odd years ago. I started doing it bits and pieces. And then it's probably been like the last 7 years I've been doing it proper. But yeah, it was one of them, like, it started off as I had a different job completely. I used to manage a company that was like a building firm sort of thing, and I was just in charge of making sure materials got out to the workers, materials came into the country, making sure people got paid, making sure I paid other people. So it was nothing like what I do now, except for it helped me get very organised in my business. It taught me how to organise myself. But
And what it's just this organization, because I don't want to forget this. One of the keys that I talk about in the course, in the birthday course, is organization. And again, you definitely deal with so many clients, and it's a full-time thing for you. And you shared with me your unique tool. Could you just tell everybody really quickly, what is that one thing that you could not live without that allows you to keep organized and grow these relationships with these clients?
100%. The thing that I couldn't live without, work-wise, is my diary. Everything, because I'm dealing with so many different people, literally on a day-to-day basis, I might have a couple of new people emailing me. But then I'm also working with, catch-up work and tweak work from jobs back along, a few days or a few weeks and whatnot. And I'm also prepping for work ahead of time. So I've got all these different people, all these different jobs. And if I don't keep track of it all in my diary, literally, I will, forget about it. As I said earlier, it's a bit like your emails. If you've got one email and then all of a sudden you have loads of junk mail or loads of other mail, if you don't answer that email, that original email straight away, it's going to just get buried, and then eventually you're going to forget about it.
And I was telling everybody we're gonna give Scott the intro to the inbox zero part of the course. So I think you'll have some tips, because email is one of my things, and it's exactly what you said. If you don't get that one, and that's why we have to keep them clean. But I like that you have that one central place for everything, and you don't have to worry about where you are or what you're thinking, because you said too, you're like me. I don't have a memory. I don't have a memory whatsoever. And if I don't, I try and run a paperless office, but if I don't have everything typed in and it's in my Evernote, which is the software I use, but if it's not there, like your diary, it would just lose it. So back to your inspirations. We know the inspirations. Do you have any certain guideline rules that you kind of follow when you do a design? Right? I know you can kind of mimic some other things if people request it, but your style, are there certain rules that you follow?
Certain design rules? Not really. I mean, I just try and keep a nice, when people want a character shot, you got to remember, it's not, like when you go on holiday to Florida, like Disney World and places like that, and I've got all the caricature artists sitting up in their booths. Most of the time, when you have them sort of caricatures done, they're taking the mick out of you, which is, which I enjoy. I've got one up on my own wall from when I went to Universal Studios 12 odd years ago, and that's fun. But when I'm doing a design, I've got to remember it's for people's business, so they don't want something that's going to make them, look really silly in a bad way. People don't want all them kind of grotesque caricatures done. So I'll try and keep it playful.
So if they have that blemish, you're not going to go and, that you're not going to extort it. Or they got that large nose, you're not going to make it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I will make sure that it looks like them and it's fun, but it's friendly. It's got to come, you want, friendly basically. It's just got to come across nice and business-like. I'm not going to make anyone feel bad when I send across the cartoon.
And that's why one of the reasons why I started to work with you is I know photos when you get the right photographer, and we actually have an interview with a gentleman by the name of Michael Messing coming up in a little bit, and he's a professional photographer for entertainers. That's all he does. And for me, photos can really work for somebody. But one of the reasons that got me working with you so much is I ain't having to get ready and you make me look good, right? I mean, you've got that. My hair is always perfect. I've always got that right complexion, and you make that happen. So yeah, kudos to you. One of the things that I learned from your style that helped me with my branding is that the softness of the colors. I used to use really, really bright colors, like the obnoxious colors, and you took all those colors and everything you do, and you've toned them so down. And I think that's almost something that anybody, whether they work with you or not, if they take their branding and they just tone down their colors to a softer shade of blue or a softer, man, did it make such a big difference in everything. It's not so shocking on the eyes.
Yeah, you do see some designs where, they go for the brightest, sharpest red and that kind of deep blue. And you're right, I do like to have them more kind of softer pastel sort of colours, a lot of gradients, a lot of blends. Like you say, it's just not so visually, giving you a headache.
Mm-hmm. And when I was talking to you about having you on here, and this is why I was super excited, and I know that you don't do these interviews, I wanted to, give some really good advice to the people, in my group that are listening to you, if they wanted to work with you or really any kind of graphic designer. Of course, you're my go-to guy, and so I wanted to kind of offer some help for my members. And I got a couple of questions for you, and I think your answers will really kind of help shape them when they're working with someone. And so the first thing for someone who's especially never worked with you before, because you're in a different country, from where most of my members are, and all the communication is usually through email.
Yeah.
Could you just briefly explain just the start, the whole entire process from start to finish? We'll just say like a logo design, because I know you do a little sketch and you offer a free sketch. Take me from the start of the process, to, and then to what do you do? What kind of programs are you using it? Maybe a little bit of the time frame, and then right to the end of the work.
Well, okay. Well, first of all,
without giving away too many of your secrets.
Yeah, no, that's all right. But what normally first happens is someone will get in touch with me, and like you said, I always do a free sketch concept. I don't ask for any money up front, because I am most of the time on the other side of the planet to people. And if I say to them, give me 50% up front, they don't know if I'm going to just run off with that $100. So basically, I don't take any money until the job's finished. And then by that point, I've got the artwork completed. They see that I've done it. And by this point now as well, they can see, looking at my Facebook page and on my web page, that I've been doing this for years, and there's a lot of people that use me.
And I think most of them have been referrals too. Yeah. I really think. I know I talk about you all the time, constantly, and I hear all the great names you've had in the forums and stuff as well.
Yeah, it's not a problem nowadays. But when I first started, nobody knew me. So I put in all them practices to try and give people confidence that I was a legit, service. So, the very first thing that I ask people to do is just to get that sketch is, first of all, send me a good picture of themselves, a good, head and shoulders photo. If they can send me a picture of them in their stage uniform, that's great. But if for any reason they haven't got it, because I know sometimes people might be, in a stage of getting everything set up and ready, just send me a description.
And I've done that before too with you, where there's been a new prop that I'm waiting to get shipped to me, and I've sent you to different websites where you've seen the prop and you've designed it and made it ready so that the promo was actually ready for that. So I love that you can do that as well, right? You don't have to, unlike having a photographer, you have to have everything. You can actually place those props there.
I've had people that are just literally done their own doodle and sent me a picture saying it looks something like this, and that's all I need really. Because it's a cartoon, it doesn't have to be identical, it just got to be faithful, representative. And then the most important thing that people can do is I get people apologizing to me that they give me too much information. They send me a long email telling me all about the act, and then they apologize at the end. They say, I'm sorry that I've bombarded you with all this, but actually it's the people that send me no information which is making my work hard. If you send me a vague thing, just say, oh, I'm just a musician, I do tricks for kids, and that doesn't give me a lot to work with. But if you send me loads of information. If you say, I do this trick and I do that trick and I do this big finale and this, that and the other, then I can start building a logo which is different to everybody else's. I always try to make logos look different, and the more information you can give me, the easier you make that for me and the better the logo for you.
And that would be the biggest mistake then, right? The biggest mistake then when someone's trying to hire you and convey their idea to you is not giving you enough information, right? And thinking that, hey, we'll just let you have the freedom to go with it. That makes your job harder, right?
Yep. Just tell me as much as possible. Tell me about yourself, anything that you think is unique to your act, tell me. Because the thing with a logo, where you can have a website, and you can, fill that website with information. You can say, we do this trick, we do that trick. But people might not, if they're glancing through a lot of options, they might not even read all that. Where a logo, if I got all them things represented in a picture form, literally in a snapshot, within a second of somebody looking at that picture, they can see all the different things you offer. So, the more you can tell me, and I'll try and work it all in without making it look too busy. But the more you can tell me, the more, your customer can know quickly what you do.
And we've done that a few times too. We've done comparisons. I've done that with you, where we've had a comparison of other entertainers and what they bring to the table versus what I bring, and the entire stage setup. And you were able to go ahead and creatively design that. So biggest mistake, you guys are listening, don't be as descriptive as you possibly can and send pictures. And emotion is something that you can also do really well. Just like music. There is a lot of emotion that can be presented in an illustration. We've done pictures. You've done designs for me with, a stressed out birthday mom where they're literally pulling their hair out. And when you look at that image, it tells you right away, like, whoa, that lady's stressed, right? And so you can certainly do all that. Yeah. So be as descriptive as possible.
Yeah, whatever you want me to convey, I can, I'll work hard to make sure I do that.
So they send you an email, and they give you that nice description, and then you're going to go back and send them, for a logo, for instance, you're going to give them a little bit of a rough sketch. You send that to them, and again, no money's changed hands. It's, you're just working to get that client, just like we work to try and build our business with the relationships and the emails and the e-promo kits that we send, into there. Now you set them and you wait for them to get back to you. And if they need changes, you adjust those.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the sketch stage, so that we can get it. They come back and they say, because sometimes people come back and they say, I don't think it quite looks like me, or I'm not happy with this, or can you just, and that's fine. It's all part of the process. Get it all looking right in the sketch stage. And then once they're happy with it, then, I can, because the worst thing that I've had people do is when they say, yep, I really love the sketch. And then I spend ages making a cartoon logo. And then they say, oh, can I just have that instead? And I think, well, yes, but I really wish you told me back at the sketch stage, which is the whole point, because now it's going to take me 10 times longer to do than it would have done whether I just rubbed something else and redrew it.
So next advice would be make sure that if you have make your changes at the start and not later on. Now, obviously you can accommodate them, and you've done that, before, but if it's all done at the beginning, that's going to make it the easier.
I'm always, whenever I finish, because the next stage is I go and I make that logo, I colour it in. And as you know yourself, because it's all digital, there is a lot of room for adjustment. So, I can change colours, I can move bits around and whatnot. But what I meant before is I've had people come back and say, oh, I don't think the face looks like me. Can you redo the face, please? And that's a bit that should have been sorted out beforehand. But yeah, later on when the logo is done, I'll send it to them. And, they might say, can you,
that sketch is hand drawn, right? You actually hand draw that sketch.
Yeah, I still, literally, I've got about 10 big, thick folders all around me in the office, full of just drawings I've done for people all over the years.
I should get an autograph and get one of those sent up, because I got to put my original logo on my wall one time.
I'll have it. I've got it in one of these folders somewhere, and I've only ever done that for one customer. Last year, one of the musicians I did a logo for asked me to do a family portrait as a Christmas present. And he had a friend that lived near me to come and pick up the file. And the reason he did that was because he wanted the actual original sketch that I signed and gave to him, and he's the only person out of all the hundreds, if not thousand, of people that I've done designs for. That's the only person who's ever.
I think, and I think, when I teach in the birthday courses, having different upsells and party extras, selling goodie bags and things like that. And I think that would actually be, almost a no-brainer for you. And just say, hey, because I know one of the things that makes perfect sense is when you do get a logo from you, that you can very easily, and it's a very, very small fee to also make that into a coloring poster, which is a great marketing giveaway, and it's something that you're already set up to do. I think, that sketch, I think that would be a great upsell for you, a little autograph and send it out there and you're good to go. I think that's good.
I do enjoy keeping all the sketches. If anyone ever wants them, I'm happy to, send them along. But I do, sometimes I do look back through all the old drawings that I do. All my kids, they like looking at all the old sketches that I do because everything's digital nowadays.
Yeah.
My sketches are my only actual physical evidence of what I do. Everything else is on a hard drive.
And what program are you using? So you go from the sketch to the computer, and that's all a digital. So what kind of program? Are you on a Mac or a PC?
I'm definitely a PC. I haven't got a Mac. Literally, I think with a Mac, they're great computers, but you're paying, what, twice as much as...
Oh, I'm sorry. This recording, I can't quite hear you. Must be some kind of a bad connection over here. Shh. I'm just kidding, Scott. I'm all Mac over here. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I thought you was actually something wrong. No, I use a PC.
Okay,
okay. So, yeah, what I do, once I've sketched something, the next stage is I email the image to my I use an Apple iPad. So
okay, cool.
I send the sketch to my Apple iPad, and I digitally outline it on the iPad because I haven't got a Wacom, which I know other people have, but I don't. I digitally draw it on my iPad. Then I email that digital outlining as an SVG file into my main PC, and then I basically colour it all in Flash, which is an animation program, I know, but I actually prefer the design tools in Flash, which is now Animate. I prefer the design tools in that than Illustrator. I don't particularly like working in Illustrator. So I do export to Illustrator in the end, and then I save it as an Illustrator file, EPS and SVG and all those, because people need those to give to the printers, if they're getting it put on a banner or on a vehicle and whatnot.
And so with, we were talking about the sketches and stuff. So from there, do you remember, because you're not a magician, do you remember I call it the patient zero, that first magician that kind of started it all off for you? Yeah,
it must have been about 2005, 2004, and he was called Magic Dave. And that was an entertainer from the UK. And if I remember right, I might be wrong, but if I remember right, I actually, I think I advertised it through eBay. I think I went on eBay and did a kind of logo for sale. That, or what I later went on to do was just look up entertainers on the internet and just email them and say, do you fancy a logo design for your business? I think it would actually really help you.
And I think now that I think the greatest thing about your business, and I love so much, is we're the marketers for you. Every time you do a design, it's almost like an audience in our shows, right? And when we do a great job in our shows, it's those kids become those little marketing people, and they run around, they tell all their friends about, the magic show they just saw. You design a logo for me, and I put it everywhere. And, and all my marketing efforts become your marketing efforts. And I really love that. Hey, and sorry, we did get back, and I want to wrap up because I want to respect your time. But
nice.
There's a couple really important questions I got to ask. But before I finish, so you go into Flash, which is now Animate, and you designed everything, you color it all in. And then is that the last step where you would make that into that digital file that you would go ahead and send them as a proof?
Yeah, what would happen is I would save it as a JPEG, send it to the customer. If they're happy with it, great. If they want any changes, I'll go back and I'll tweak it. And then when they finally are happy, I'll export it out into Illustrator, and then I'll save it as an Illustrator file, SVG, PDF. I'll also
everything. I've seen it. You send a whole entire every file in there.
I'll also save it as a Photoshop file as well. So whatever you're working, hopefully, I think I pretty much tick all the boxes that people need.
I think so. I think PNG and JPEG, and then obviously the Photoshop for.
If there's anything I've missed, they can get in touch with me, and I can pretty much send whatever they need.
Yeah, and what I like too is Scott, you don't just do the logo designs, you do everything. There's the cartoons. I know you do animations as well, and this is the one thing I try and get people to do, and I recommend the most is, what are you good at, right? If you're good at entertaining, do the entertaining and, the marketing. But if you're not a graphic designer, I've seen too many people will go in, because now Photoshop's made it so easy. You can just pay a small monthly fee to run Photoshop, and everyone's got it on their computers. Everybody wants to become this big Photoshop guru, right? When they should just send this stuff to somebody like you that can just take care of it and know exactly, what they're doing. So that was the last step. So they get that thing after it's all been proved. What because I want to wrap it up here. What would be the worst? The worst kind of you've probably had some difficult clients, right? So
not many.
Many.
I've been lucky. I mean, as I said, I've done so many. But first of all, you would think when I don't charge people until the end of the job, I'd get a lot of no payers, but that isn't actually true. I can probably count 2 hands tops. The amount of people that haven't paid me is a very, very small number. So
I think that goes because there's a lot of we go back and forth. Some people are all about the deposits for a book and a show, and then some people are hey, no pay when it's all done. And there's both sides of that story. But I think at the end of the day, you want to be as easy to work with as the client, and you certainly are super easy to work with. I mean, we've been working together for so long, but when you work with a client, if you do that great service, they're going to want to pay you. And I think that's what you do in your business and what we should be doing in our business as well. Whether you do a deposit or not, that's a whole nother, we could talk about that in a whole nother video, but the payment afterwards, doesn't happen very often, right, for you?
Yeah, I've been like and I haven't had many difficult customers, and I wouldn't call out who they were, but the only ones that have been difficult really, like I was saying before, where they've had the sketch, they've said they've liked it, and then once I've done the design, they haven't wanted like a little tweak, where it's just move the arm or move the hair or move this line or colour it in. They've been, I don't think it looks like me, can you totally change it? And it's like, well, that's what the... And I've had 1 or 2 people where the little changes that I say I don't mind, but then it's like a billion of them. It's like, can you just change this? So I change it. Can you just change that? So I change it. Can you just change this? So I change. And then I think, why don't you just give me a list of all the little changes and I'll do it in one go instead of, And I've only really had 1 or 2 people like that. But like I say, by and large, no, everyone's great to work with. I mean, I work late into the night. If I didn't enjoy my work, it would drive me crazy because I do it for so long.
Do so much of them. And with change, too. So this is what I wanted to wrap up with. I know some of my members here, they perhaps maybe have old logos. And they're thinking about getting a logo redesigned, maybe just fixed and updated or completely redesigned. But I know, speaking to them, some of them directly, they, one of their hesitations is that they've built, the brand for them, their name and stuff in their, in their area, and they've been doing it for so long that they're really scared to make that change with an old logo. But what would you say to that?
Well, as we covered right at the start, people are, they can today be a bit superficial. We are very much judging book by cover. So you got to bear in mind a lot of your potential customers, people that hire entertainers, they don't follow the business. The first time they might ever want an entertainer is the first time they've ever looked into the field. So you could have 2 magicians. One magician he's been doing it for 20 years and he's brilliant. He knows everything, he's great. But he hasn't updated his logo in 20 years. So, it looks like an old-fashioned one. You could have another magician who's only been doing it for 20 minutes, but he's just spent a fortune on all his branding and packaging and his website, which is your virtual identity, which is what people judge you by nowadays. And someone might look at, 2 websites, and if one looks outdated and one looks really modern, superficially, people are going to assume, wrongly, but they'll assume that the one that is all snazzy looking is, potentially the better one, and they'll look at the other one and think they're outdated. Now, if people got a certain brand that they want to keep, they can still keep it. Just, update it. Everything's a bit more colourful nowadays. Everything's digital. So, update your design. You can still keep the essence of your design, but just freshen it up, give us, a bit of a facelift and bring it into the 21st century to appease our 21st century appetites.
And you can update that really at any time. I mean, if people are on that website, they know where they are. If they're on there, whatever your website is, and they're on that website, and they see a new logo, they're not going to assume that they're somewhere else. There's so many things that go into your branding than just your logo, and that would be the one change. Even just adding certain cartoons to the website to start to give it that fresher look and things like that would work well.
You still keep if someone's got the main brand logo,
like a rabbit in a hat is super easy.
Yeah.
Update that and make it look cooler.
Yeah, it'll still keep the essence of what your brand logo's always been, but just freshen it up, just give it a new digital look.
And what about, this is the last one, what would be, I think a lot of people maybe skip out and miss out because maybe in their area they've got, a lot of Scott, Evans logos in their area. And before we got on this, you had such an amazing answer for this, and I never even thought of it that way, because, I'm very protective about my brand. And I know many people are. I know some people are hesitant to even be in the Facebook group because, other people in their area are learning the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's, that's a competition's good. You should push yourself further ahead, right? And be that leader and, and have the followers. But you had a great answer. So what would you say in advice or, a little outlook, a different way of thinking to those people that don't want to get a logo by you because everybody else has a logo?
Well, first of all, people, when they're looking to, hire an entertainer, and I'm going by personal experience because, I've got kids myself, so when you're looking into different things that you want to get on.
Oh, and so sorry, Scott. I don't want to, I know everyone's got good shows, but there may be, some of those beginners in here that have the okay show. And if we back up, a couple minutes ago, we were talking about, you have that brand new person, maybe not have a good show and they spend all this money on the marketing and stuff. Yeah. I got to remind you, not you, but the guys that are listening and the girls that are listening, that if you have a shitty ass show, you can spend all the money you want on the branding, and get professionals like Scott to design it and do that on your website. But you'll be very short-lived in what you do in the business because you still have to have that product that's going to stand on its own, right? But as you're talking about, it's like a gatekeeper, right? You got to get that.
But that's what I was going to say. Basically, so if someone's looking at people will judge on stages. So like the first hurdle. So think of it like a race, a hurdles race, where you're jumping over all them hurdles along the way. The first hurdle that you got to get over is that book boy, judging the book boy's cover.
At 8 seconds.
Yeah. So, if you've got someone else who's got a similar logo, someone's looking, they think, okay, they both look nice. Then what will happen is they'll go past the logo and then they'll judge you on, your next stage. They'll actually start looking into what does that entertainer offer in his show and what does that entertainer offer in his show. But if one of them's got a crappy logo and one of them's got a good logo, then the one with the crappy logo might potentially fall at the first hurdle. Where if they've both got the same good logo, then, the people will jump over that hurdle and then they'll judge them on the next hurdle.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's that.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally made sense. And that's when we first talked about it, I was like, wow, I got it. So, you want to get over that first one. And if your branding and your look and your website, and all the other parts of your branding falls shorter than everybody else's, it doesn't matter. You're already out of the game in most cases.
Yeah. So if both of you got a decent logo, but one of them's a flash in the pan, once they jump over that first hurdle, once they start looking into the references and the reviews, the one who's been doing it for 20 years and he's got like 100 people saying, we love him, we used him when I was a kid and my children, my grandchildren. And then the other one, they look and it's like, only set up last week, no one reviewed him, we've never done a show before. Then that's where he will fall at the second hurdle. And, eventually the one with all the experience will win the day, hopefully.
And what they're not going to do is they're not going to go look at, at 3 Scott Evans logos area, in your area and be like, oh my gosh, these guys all look the same. They're awesome. We're not going to talk to them. We're going to go talk to that shitty branding guy over there. That's not what's going to happen. It's going to be the opposite. So again, they'll skip the bad branding. They'll go through the straight stuff. So even if everybody has the same brand and look, then they're going to go past that to that next level and then learn individually. So that's a great answer. We went way over time on here, but everything that you had to say was gold about branding. We know how important it is. I know you got a giant list behind you to get more stuff. But before we leave, I'm going to post your information. But if someone's just listening in the car, how can they get a hold of you, Scott?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me is my website is www.lookcreativestudio.co.uk. But actually, nowadays, I tend to really communicate with people on my Facebook page, which is, I really should remember this off the top of my head, but I don't.
Yeah, and I didn't put your Facebook in there, but I do know you got the Facebook, and we'll link to your Facebook in there for sure.
Yeah.
So, but the company name is Look Creative Studio. Right? Look
Creative Studio. Put it into Google, and it'll all pop up. You'll find me.
And then again, so they email you and say, hey, they want to have a logo designed and be as descriptive. They could go right in that first email. You can be as descriptive as they possibly can. And
as much as possible, yeah.
What else do you do? So I know you've done cartoons for me. You've done some really great animations, intros and outros, videos, which are fantastic. What else? Car wraps. What else?
Yeah, do car wraps. I always maintain that. I personally think the car wraps is always the best bit of marketing, because once you get past that initial fee to get it put on the vehicle, it's just never stops giving, does it? It's always going to go around town. And if someone lives in the area and they see this big cartoon van go past, which you're going to notice if you see a big cartoon van go past.
And we're not talking about just, I know there's been, skepticism in the group, in our Facebook group too, that I've got a private group, where, you just put your phone number and your website on the back of a car. We're not talking about that. We're talking about full car wrap. I know about Canada, it's $2,000 or $3,000 for not for the design, which are your very reasonable price, but for the actual wrap, it's about $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the vehicle in Canadian dollars. But that's what you're talking about, a full car wrap versus
full car wrap.
That stands out.
If it's, people are going to notice that. And you think, if you see that going past you in your local town all the time, it might be 6 months later. But if you think, I need a kids party, the very first thing that's going to pop into your head is, oh, Magic, whoever, drive that big truck past me every day. Or, if a friend says, I'm looking for an entertainer, they're going to say, oh, I see that thing going past me all the time. It's going to, that's what. So I always say the vehicle is a great use. I do websites for people. I do poster designs for people.
And the poster design too, because it was something I didn't know that you do. But even if someone doesn't have a logo, stop doing the stuff on your own and send it to a professional. So Scott will actually do your design work for you without having the logo. I know with animations you need to have that logo. That's a little bit more tricky. But if you haven't designed their logo, you can still put everything on a page and make it look amazing.
Yeah. I can, if they just want a poster design or a website design or stationery design and they just want it freshened up, they can send me their existing logo and I can work around it. If it's an animation, it's a bit different because I need to make all the different layers move and whatnot, and I need a digital file, so I might end up having to recreate it. But graphic design work, they can come and get in touch with me with existing work if they want one of my posters and whatnot.
And another thing about you too, I know some people will go on Fiverr, has been a resource for graphics and stuff, but a lot of the people on Fiverr, I always say they come and go, and
I had trouble with Fiverr literally. Just a month ago, someone contacted me and said, "You see, your work is on Fiverr." I went on Fiverr, and there was a whole bunch of logo people, and they all had all my cartoon characters on there. And then at the very end, they had like one little crappy cartoon thing which was their own. I did actually manage to get them all, not kicked off, but not, it's obviously wasn't their artwork.
Yeah.
So I managed to get that all taken off. So if I was to look on Fiverr now, I wouldn't be surprised if they pop back on again. It's difficult to deal with these sort of things.
Yeah, but, and those guys are fly-by-nights, and you've been doing for many years. We work together. I can vouch for Scott, but that's the kind of service that you get for that kind of stuff.
I mean, all the ones I've seen on Fiverr, they generally go with stock, because there's so many stock art. So I'm not just trying to talk myself up. literally, I haven't seen anyone that worried me on Fiverr, because if you're after some crappy little stock picture with, whatever, you can get that on Fiverr. But if you do
there's certainly, I've recommended Fiverr for certain things. But,
I use Fiverr myself for on my animations. There's loads of great voiceover actors on Fiverr.
Absolutely, yeah. I've done my voicemail from that. But when it comes to branding and something that you're going to take progression through many, many stages, with car wraps, posters, different things, having that consistency, I think, is so important, and to be able to come back to that same person over and over again. Like, I don't know, I should maybe just try and get you to do even more stuff, just because I don't know what would happen if we lost contact. I'd be like, where's my business going, right? It's going to stand still.
Well, like I said, with the Fiverr thing, they're fine if you just want a normal text-based logo. There's a lot of good people on there. But what I specialise in is that kind of cartoon. Really, I'm more of a illustrator that happens to do the branding as well. And so, that's what I'm all about, making the cartoon things that if you do put it on a van, or if you put it on a poster, you put it on a website, it's really going to, pop. And especially because the reason I think entertainers are taken to me is because the people you're trying to get the attention of is, kids and family and fun, and cartoons, definitely
hand in hand.
Yeah, hand in hand. It's that whole, Disney generation thing.
Well, Scott, hey, thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to sending you some more stuff, and I can't wait to see what you designed for some of my members here in the birthday group. So again, thanks for your time, Scott, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Real pleasure. Good night.
Bye.